Hi, and welcome.
I'm Z.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to tell you about the movie that we just watched. But first, a little bit of a heads up.
Some of the movies we watch deal with heavy subject matters.
In order to talk about these emotionally delicate things and the heavy subject matters that we sometimes cover, we add humor and crude language to add some levity and to process our own trauma.
If that doesn't feel fun or safe for you, we completely understand. Please take care of yourself first and foremost.
And we spoil the end of pretty much every movie that we watch.
Now you know. On with the show. El Pinguino over here.
Anyway,
Such a hook.
he's spitting. I almost said I've never heard about this movie before. Not true. I had seen some of this movie before.
Oh, you had?
Yes.
Confirmed.
I don't remember much of it, but I think it's like I think it's the communion scene or something. It wasn't a taut, sexy thriller like I thought it was going to be, so I pieced out. But I think I thought.
Oh, you mean the first time?
Yeah.
You encountered it?
I think I thought Robert Carlyle was going to be the priest, and when he wasn't, I was like, "This is pretty disappointing." So I didn't finish watching it.
Instead, he's just a tiny little twink.
He's so little. Both of them just
itty bitty.
Two little dudes who sang and giggled. Yeah, this was a crazy movie. It was very interesting. I didn't really know much about it going in because I didn't really care. I just wanted to see a gay priest movie. But it was really, it's a very heavy movie. You'll be surprised that a movie from the mid-90s about a gay priest turns out to be heavy subject matter.
So to process our own trauma, we're going to make some inappropriate jokes. Shout out to our...
Yeah. I fast forward through that every single time. I'm like, I don't want to hear myself say something like this. When we were recording that little thing, Keith was so stressed out because I kept being like, let's make it funny. And Keith was like, absolutely not. We need to stick to the script. And I was like, that's not like us, you know? And so we had a couple takes that were a couple for him, a couple for me. Let's say that.
Wow. Yeah, you really wanted to go off book.
I really did.
You really wanted to improvise.
I did not realize.
It felt like you actually couldn't do a script.
Correct. Yes, this is why it's very hard for me to do
You're
something
like Rob
like
Williams.
I legitimately
on Howard the Duck.
It is one of the hardest things. I will get so I'll get so stressed out that I'll start having a panic attack if I have to stick to and you're like, stick to the script, and I'm like, what if jazz hands? And you're like, no, I wrote this script out in 30 seconds. Is the most dedicated I've ever been to a process before.
How rude.
Remember when I said that you've read 3 books, which is
Chicken Soup for the Vegan Soul.
That's how I end it, you ass. That's the punchline. I said,
let me answer your question then. No.
Letters to Playboy, was that it?
What was it?
Letters to Penthouse or something. The Bible and chicken soup for the chicken soup for the vegan soul.
Vegan soup for the chicken soul.
No, chicken soup for the vegan soul.
Poopy outdoor dog.
And I used to say those were the only 3 books that Keith's read. I don't.
Genius.
I don't. This is the thing. I'll come up with jokes, and I'm like, "This is so funny," and
Yeah.
you're like, "They're not," and I'm like, "No, they're so."
Well,
good.
I just like it. I mean, you think they're very funny when they're jokes about that you're doing about me. Like, "Hi, my name's Keith, and I like to suck dick." I don't.
See these slay, they're so good.
As you love to say to me about things I do on the internet, I get what you're doing, but I don't think other people do. But that's a lie. I don't know what you're doing.
So funny. Remember Tippy Swirl? That was fun.
Yes. Well, that wasn't. That's a different genre.
No.
No.
I said I know.
Oh.
No, I know. Sorry, we went off script there. Yeah. So
As soon as this movie was over, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say about this movie.
I know.
And I really am not sure. Other than to say, I liked it as a movie. It's very heavy-handed as far as the messaging goes. I don't think it particularly. If I didn't like the performers, or if it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know what to say other than like I liked it, and if I didn't like it, I wouldn't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, that was deep. No, yeah.
The messaging is very funny to me. I mean,
really?
well, not funny. I think I don't care about rehabilitating Christ or the church or any of that. You know what I mean?
Rehabilitating Christ? What do you mean?
Well, you know, like all his pleading directly to his little Jesus statue.
Uh-huh. Right.
And the thing that Christians love to do, especially liberal white Christians,
uh-huh,
of like, Jesus would have wanted this. The church has gotten too far from.
Okay.
You'd say, this girl is me. This girl is all suffering humanity. For this I came. You wouldn't give a damn about the church and its rules and its regulations. The secrecy of confession, how can that be good when it allows evil to thrive?
That's not how I took it.
That's fine, but
yeah. Oh, no.
Well, that's what Wilkinson's priest was like.
Kind of. For me, it was, I don't know. I mean, it was 30 years ago, so.
Yeah,
that's something. No. I'm just saying it was 30 years ago, so I feel like it feels like, I think this would have been like, obviously more radical back then.
Absolutely.
And
I don't know if you read any of the.
Yeah, like the Catholic Church was like pissed about it.
Yeah, and.
Which is wild because.
Apparently it's somewhat historical in that the Irish Film Board said, we don't care what the church says.
Yeah, right.
For the first time.
Yeah.
Or
it
they went against the
church for
Catholic
the first time.
Church's
ruling.
Request.
Yeah, for the first time. Which is really, I didn't know that kind of like historic. I didn't know that this was that kind of movie. You know what I mean? Also, I thought it was going to be more like of a guy sort of like grappling with his sexuality and like, you know, trying to, you know, like being a priest and having like a torrid affair kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I really felt like that wasn't what was going on. I felt like I cried. Like I cried at the end. Like it was really, that was like not an ending I was expecting.
No.
And
it's not much of a resolution.
yeah, that was the thing. I was like, whoa. It was very, anyway, the scene. Okay. So just to set the scene, like, Lionel Roache, I don't know how to say it. Linus? Oh, Linus Roache. Is it Roache? Is that how you say it?
Oh, I don't know. It could be. I just say Rocha.
Roche. Linus Roache.
Like
you'll know him from Mandy and Law and Order. Crazy. He played
Law and Order crazy.
Law and Order crazy.
Law and Order : crazy. Vanilla, as I like
And
to call it.
also, he was also in the Chronicles of Riddick. So those 3 things I know him from, especially. Anyway, he's a priest that's like basically, it opens with Tom Wilkinson. I mean, it opens with other things, but whatever, who cares? It opens with like the...
I'm sorry about 12 Monkeys.
I was listening back and I was like, you kept being like, well, and I'd be like, I don't know what I'm saying wrong.
That's what I'm apologizing.
I know, but very funny. Tom Wilkinson is, what's the guy in, what do you call that? Okay. So Tom Wilkinson.
Wait, you mean his like title?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't
it's
tell
confusing.
you.
Anyway, the guy that's like in charge of all the priests in town or whatever the fuck, he is telling Tom Wilkinson.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I think he's like the archdiocese.
Diocese. Okay, so he said, I don't know about the arch, but he might be a diocese. Because I feel like archdiocese are.
Well, a diocese I think is like, the region.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a parish and then you have
Okay.
a diocese.
Oh, okay.
I think, and then the archdiocese is the head of the diocese.
Okay. Gotcha.
Again, I could be way wrong. I could be way wrong about this.
So,
I don't know church things.
I don't know Catholic church things.
Definitely not.
So the diocese.
Maybe
will
he's
say,
a bishop.
Yeah, or someone. So the guy, I'm just gonna say the way that I said it.
I'm sorry.
The guy over after you just apologized. I'm just kidding. It's just kidding. The guy that's like
You
in
asked.
charge of the whatever, all the priests.
The guy
in
that's
town.
over Wilkinson.
Yeah.
This is what you're saying.
He is telling him that like a new priest is coming in town, and he basically is like, this guy is more like, he's stricter than you. He has more like, he's
Right.
more old school than
Orthodox.
you. Yeah. And even though he's like younger and
Right.
new, he's like, he's not quite like you, which I didn't really get at first. I thought he was being sarcastic. And he was not. So, I love Tom Wilkinson, honestly. I don't know what it is about him. And he's in something I'm like, I know I'm gonna, if nothing else, I'm gonna love his performance. I really loved him in this. He was so weird. And
Yeah.
he did such a great job. So Linus Roache or whatever, Roache, Rock, he comes into town and his
Father Greg,
he comes into town and like, he's like, him and Wilkinson immediately clash because he is very much like, we have to get back to like the old ways. We have to be, fire and brimstone. We have to be really harsh on these people. And Tom Wilkinson is like, bro, these are like working class people and they like don't have shit. So maybe chill out.
They're not the fault of the individual anymore. They're society's fault. Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand that. What did you think?
Interesting.
You didn't like it?
I found it offensive.
You expect less of the people because they live in a poor parish. I find that offensive. Patronizing.
Really?
And then he finds out that like Tom Wilkinson's character is like they have like, it's so, I love the scenes where, because the maid, quote, the maid of the house, she's what's her name? Cathy Tyson. Thank you. Cathy Tyson, who if you've seen Mona Lisa, you'll know her from that.
and watch Mona Lisa if you haven't.
Yes, correct. Definitely watch Mona Lisa. Very, very good movie. Neil Jordan somehow he's not a big old homo. Will never make sense to me.
Even though he cast Jay Davis as Cathy Tyson in The Crying Game.
I know. I swear to God, when I watched Mona Lisa, I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so she's like, the first time he meets her, like, I think he's like, oh, she's the housemaid or something, and Tom Wilkinson's like, sure, like,
Right.
and then he's like, do you want to? He's like, oh, he says something like, I'd love some tea, or like Tom Wilkinson asks him if he'd love some tea, and he says to her, like, tea would be great. And he just like looks at her. He's being so fucking gross. Like, I love how shitty he is at first. At first I was like, I'm not gonna like his character. I'm like, he's such a fucking asshole.
We talking about Greg?
Yeah. I was like, he's so fucking annoying. He's the worst.
No, they definitely set us up for that.
And then like Tom Wilkinson like gets the tea and brings it to her, and she's just like doing her own thing, and he's just like, so she lives here? And he's like, yep. Anyway, it's like, so anyway, he finds out, like, he's like going to ask him a question. He just like barges in his room one day, and like Tom Wilkinson is basically like getting undressed to deep dive into Cathy Tyson, I'm assuming. And he's like, and then he freaks the fuck out, and he's like, how dare you? You know, this is so terrible. And he's all pissed off. And then she tells Greg off, which I was like, yeah, girl.
Yeah.
And she, like, I think what he would, like, the way that I took it, because how I don't really feel like this is how it was coming across in my personal opinion.
Okay.
But I think because of how she stormed in and how she responded to him, I think he was like insinuating that Tom Wilkinson was like a lecher and was like going places and just like using his authority to like, you know, sleep with women kind of. And just like using them for sex or something. Well,
you're right, because we also have this scene before that where.
Right, he's in church and he's just like kissing all the women.
Right,
and one of the guys says, "You think he's like?"
I know what you're thinking.
He's about to take his pants off or something like that. So he, you know, so Father Greg is thinking that he's just like a piece of shit, and so Cathy Tyson just goes the fuck off on him. She's like, "Actually,
if you're gonna judge, you should know all the facts. We love each other. He's asked me to marry him. That means I'm leaving the priesthood, so I've said no. Oh, not because I'm a martyr to the faith. It's because one day he might regret it, and I don't want to see that look in his eyes if he does. Anything else he should know? Oh, yeah. I seduced him. He didn't seduce me.
She just, like, goes the fuck off on him, and he, like, apologizes, kind of, and is like,
he literally just says, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But he also goes to Tom Wilkinson and he's like, can you just be discreet? And he's like, yeah, of course. And then that's it. And then it's just like, whatever. They don't give a shit. And I think it's like, that's like the first time he's seeing, I do love the scene where they're having that argument. I think this might be when she storms in and he's like, this is how it's supposed to be done. And he's like, wait 10 years. He's like, you're going to be a totally different person. You're going to look back on this. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm never going to be like you. And he's like, oh, son. He's like, you're shit. And it's just like, they're just like yelling at each other over each other. I loved that. I loved that so much. And it's like, that's basically the whole plot of the movie is that his faith is like completely like challenged at every step. Right. And he's having to like Tom Wilkinson's character is basically like what I liked about, so this is a thing that I feel like I enjoy in any sort of film when there's like this, because I think like religion can be comforting to people. I think religion is something that people can rely on or need or want. And I don't fault people for that. I don't really have any issue with people needing something like that. But like when the religion takes over their lives or when like other people's lives need to be changed to suit their religion, like that's when it's like, okay, this is not for you any longer. This isn't something that's bringing you comfort. This is something that you're using as a weapon to other people. And that's what I felt like Tom Wilkinson's character was like, if these things are not being used to help people, if these things are not being used to, if all we're doing is like upholding the laws that man made around God, that all we're doing is like enforcing things that man decided were holy and righteous, he's like, then what's the fucking point?
Right.
But like Linus, like Father Greg or whatever, his whole thing is like, but this is what the church says. Like, but if you, and so it's like this whole argument between them where the person they're actually arguing about is Father Greg and his being queer.
Right.
And it like comes out because like, oh man, it was just so like, it was so fascinating and so like, I don't know. Yeah, I really liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. And it's like it like went way deeper than I thought it was going to with talking about this stuff. Like, so like once Father Greg kind of gets a little bit settled, I think more time is supposed to have passed than it feels like because like,
yeah,
hard to tell. Yeah. But one of the teenagers from like the school basically says like, my dad's having sex with me and he won't, like, he's making me do it and he won't stop. And it's said in confession.
Right.
So like there's this, like that creates this entire difficulty where he's like, I don't know what to do because I'm not allowed to say anything. Like I'm actively not allowed to say anything. And he's like, but if I don't say, like, if I say something, I'm going to be like thrown out of the church. If I don't say something, this girl, I mean, he doesn't tell anybody that it's going on. He's just like talking to Tom Wilkinson. He's like, if I say something, I'm going to.
But that's only after a while.
Well, he tells her to say that she told the priest about it and the priest told the father that it has to stop. And so the father then like threatens the priest. And then he's like, and he like, I think then he says something to Tom Wilkinson. Or no, she has like a seizure or whatever, a fit, they call it. And I think he's trying to figure out a way to like, he just doesn't know what to do. He's just like, cause he feels trapped. And so she has like an episode and like he keeps like her mom works for the church. Yeah. So he knows that the mom doesn't know anything about it. And then like the mom keeps like coming over or like being around. He's like, where's your kid? And she's like, oh, she's with her dad. And he's just like, and he's just like, he's like, and so while I don't know if her confession happens before or after the first time. He's like, Tom Wilkinson is with Cathy Tyson and he can hear them like giggling or something. And like, so he just like gets on his bike and goes to a gay bar and just has sex with a dude suddenly. Yeah. Like, I don't know, it just happens. The dude being Robert Carlyle, who's super tiny. And I said this last night and you lost your shit. I said Robert Carlyle is like if both sides of Tom York's face matched, It's like that thing where they do the like
symmetry.
Yeah, if you made like filter. If you made the one side of Tom York's face where his eye opens all the way, if that side matched the other side, that's what Robert Carlyle looks like.
I'm always excited when any shit talking on Tom York.
Fuck Radiohead and all that shit because, of Israel
politics.
And all. Yeah. They're, despite the fact that they make great music, in my sole opinion, they're pieces of shit who play in Israel. And when people are like, you shouldn't be doing that, they're like, fuck you, we're going to do what we want. And then, but Tom York's face, like the older he gets, like when he was young, you were like, oh, you have a little bit of a wonky face. And then the older he got, somehow he turned into a mouse. And only on one side of his face, though. So, like, one side of his face is full mouse, and the other side of his face is just
he's turning into a Batman
British
villain.
Man. Yeah, old British man. And so you're like, oh, but there's like, you're like,
he got hit with the Harvey Dent.
Yeah. You want it, but like, you're like, you want to like be nice to him because you think maybe he doesn't know how to say words. You want to be like, hey,
goddamn.
do you want some cheese, little fella? You know, and he sings and he's like, you know, and he rocks back and forth and you're like, oh, something happened, didn't it? Didn't it, little guy? Didn't it? But then you find out he's just an asshole who's like chill with Israel and you're like, oh man. And to think, I thought you were just stupid, you know. Turns out you're an asshole too. Anyway, him and
We need
Robert
to block these celebrities.
So, Father Greg and Graham, the Gigi's,
Oh, yeah.
the Gigi's have some BBs. I don't know, whatever. They do
anal sex.
They do, yeah,
to
they
each
do
other.
an anal sex to each other. But they like the making out in this. I was like, this is hot. I was like, this shit is hot. This is
They go
hot.
fucking hard.
Woo! Watch it just for that. Just for watching two little British guys tonguing each other. Also, Robert Carlyle, his fucking Scottish accent. That man he could quote the Bible, and I'd fucking cream. He's so
Wow, what a challenge.
Fuck off. Anyway, so like it's this thing where like you find out he's gay, you know.
What's this? Robert Carlyle and Gabriel Byrne in priest outfits.
Doing a Bible off.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the dog.
Yeah.
No, not that dog.
I don't care.
Not Nathan. No, the one that gets struck by lightning where he's like, "Arr, arr," that's me.
Yes.
So, yeah, the whole thing is that he's basically swept up with, like, you realize he's struggling with, like, he's a homo and he's dealing with trying to figure out how to,
Yeah.
like, tell, and he
Intervene without intervening.
Yeah, he does, like, he asked Tom Wilkinson how, like, what he can do. Basically, he's like, what would you do if you were in this situation? You know, he doesn't tell anybody what is going on. He doesn't tell anybody. And then he's like, I would intervene without, like,
I would drop
he was
a
like,
hint,
yeah, he was like,
is what he says.
I would drop hints without saying anything. And so he tries to go to the school and he's like, I think you need to keep an eye on her. And then they're like, yeah, that thing you brought up. They're like, she's a bully. And he's like, fucking Christ. And
I thought she was being bullied.
I
couldn't tell.
maybe. Oh, maybe.
Doesn't matter. I mean, the point is that
Yeah. Right. Because that's what was going on. Yeah, you're right. Because the girl was saying she smokes 10 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so funny. And he was like, how are you paying for them? And she said, with
my dinner money.
Yeah, and he's like,
Right.
what are you? He's like, she's like, I take the other girls, and he's like, you have to stop that. And she's like, I do, because she brings onions and cheese now, and I don't like that, or something like that. I don't know. It says something. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, so
Teen confessional.
so he's just like freaking out, and like one day, like all the people that work for the church are like over, including the girl's mom. And he's like, hey, how's, you know, because she's like had a fit and he took her to the doctor and all this shit. And he's like, how's she doing? And she's like, oh yeah, she's fine. She's just at home with her dad. And he like freaks the fuck out. And he's like, you all have to leave. And
What I like too is the conversation that's happening is about like
yeah,
their living conditions and like
yeah,
housing and like
yeah, right,
just the politics of their lives, you
yeah,
know.
right.
And they're having a heated discussion about
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good, yeah. And
I think that's the strength of the movie, is doing those kinds of
yes, absolutely.
juxtapositions.
So this was my read on the whole, like, I think it was more like, because they say, like, this is how I took what he was saying. So everybody leaves and he goes upstairs and he's having like a total like moral panic, collapse of faith kind of thing, where he's like, I'm supposed to like take, like I'm supposed to believe that Jesus knows. And he basically is like, you didn't have anything going on for you. Like, you could heal sick people. You could do all these miraculous things. You didn't have to sit.
He wasn't human enough.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, how am I supposed to believe that you have the answers when you have no idea what the rest of us go through?
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's really what I felt like the movie was sort of like talking about, like this whole like justification for like judgment when you don't know what someone is actually experiencing.
Yeah,
He's like, you could stop this if you wanted.
Right.
If you were here right now, if you were on Earth, you could do whatever you wanted and it would end. He's like, I am not that. I can't do that. So how am I supposed to be upheld to your example when your example is being able to perform miracles that I am incapable of doing? And that is sort of I've never seen that perspective sort of like shown, and that sort of like, that question of like people will say that sort of about God, like, oh, if he can do whatever he wanted, then he would. If he could do, like all this shit. But he's talking about like the literal personification of Christ. Like, like when you were here, when you existed on Earth, you still had abilities. You didn't have to do these things, like all this shit, and yeah, I don't know. It was just this really thing. It was this really thing.
No, I agree.
It was just an interesting sort of perspective. He's literally like losing his fucking mind, but then the mom goes home early and she catches the husband with the daughter and she freaks the fuck out, but then she is pissed at the priest because she's like, you knew and you didn't do anything. And he's just like, when he's like ignoring her, oh man, that scene's so painful because I'm like, this was his whole issue. She's confronting him and he couldn't do anything. And like, he was the whole time he was trying to like,
it's good.
Yeah, it was so, anyway, he ends up hooking up again with,
well,
in the meantime, when all this is going on, he hooks up with Robert Carlyle again. Oh my God! When they're on the beach.
I mean, Carlo keeps Graham keeps causing him problems because he keeps showing up at the church unannounced.
Well, no, he like was at the gym and he just like runs into him while he's talking. Yeah, he was like at the gym with one of the priests, and they're walking home, and he's like, "Oh, hey," and he's like, ugh, and he rushes past him.
I don't remember that at all.
The black guy? The singular black dude that's in this movie.
Oh.
And he was like, who's that? And he's like, I don't know. And he's just like, yeah. And then he shows up at church or something like that. Because he, I'm assuming he realizes where he's come from. And so he shows up at the church and he's like, you should call me. And now this is all happening within the context of him struggling with everything going on. This isn't after that. It's like during. So then the scene on the beach where he like looks around and then, oh my God, that was so, I was like, this is so fucking hot. This is so fucking hot.
I love it. It does the thing where the camera circles around them and you see the empty beach.
It does like the 360 spin around. Oh my God. But anyway, it's so good. It's so fucking good. But then like Robert Carlyle shows up at church and he goes to take communion and Father Greg refuses to give him
he just stonewalls. He just
stands there. Absolutely brutal. And you're like, you fucking asshole. Like, I was like, you fucking asshole. So then all this stuff happens with the girl and the mom, and he's like, trapped. So he goes to see Graham, and Graham's with someone else. And he's like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? And he like freaks out and he leaves. And then Graham chases after him. And
I love how much of him is on Father Greg on his bicycle, on his 10-speed.
the fucking weird ass scene where the
guy on the skateboard?
skating beside. I have no idea what the.
I know,
like,
yeah, what's
what
that about?
is this? I mean, insane. That scene is like almost like it's unreal. Like that scene does not fit the rest of the movie, and it doesn't make any. I have no idea what I'm supposed to get from that scene.
I know.
It's so nonsensical. It's so wild. Anyway, so
It was the 90s.
so he is like, whatever. They end up hooking up on the side of the road. The cops come and arrest Father Greg. And then it comes out in the papers that he's, a big old homo. So he gets like kicked out basically of that parish and like sent somewhere else. And this is where I think is really interesting. Man, Tom Wilkinson in this movie, like R.I.P. That motherfucker was so good. He just the way he's just like, the way he talks about, like he's such a he's so confrontational about Father Greg's like feelings.
Yeah.
About he's just like, because he asked him about Graham, and he's like, he says like, do you plan to see him again or something like that? And he's like, no. He's like, do you love him? And then he says he's evil. Or he's like the devil or something like that. He's like the devil or he's Satan, trying to tempt me. And Tom Wilkinson just fucking loses it at him. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, never in my life. He's like, how fucking
He's
dare
just the
you?
embodiment of
he's
sin.
Like, how dare you say that? He's like, and he just like lays into him. He's like, what the fuck? He's like pissed. And he's basically just trying to have like, and this is the thing that I like about their dynamics. They're always like arguing with each other, but like they're not ever mad at each other. They're just like they're just in these like
after the
heavy
thing
debates.
around the housekeeper.
Yeah. Once they're like best bros. And it's
Can
like,
you be discreet?
but he's just like, oh man, when the fucking like, cause the fucking housekeeper at the
when he gets exiled to the
God.
other parish or whatever, and the guy's just
Such a
calling him a
bitch.
boil in Latin.
Yeah. But then the fucking, oh my God, the housekeeper comes in and she's wearing a fucking apron that says meat is murder, and she's like serving them dinner.
And she's just 100% sarcastic all the time. Wearing a neck brace.
And he's like, "Do you hurt your neck?" And she's like, "No, I heard this is the latest fashion," or something like that. She's just fucking laying into him.
Well, just the whole thing is,
Yeah.
the best comedy in the whole movie is around that
Yeah.
parish or whatever.
Yeah.
That house.
Yeah.
The thing when he first arrives and she's like, points to the sign, she says, use the side door.
Yeah.
Classic bits.
the door.
Classic bits.
And he's like, and she's just, oh man, yeah, it's insane. And then, but then when Tom Wilkinson is visiting him and they're just like arguing about like chastity and like, or celibacy and like why it doesn't, like all this shit and like, and Tom Wilkinson is like, who gives a fuck? He's like, it's a man-made rule. He's like, who fucking cares? He's like, it's only been, and his whole thing about it is like really, he's like, the only reason that celibacy was put into play was because they didn't want the widows of priests making claim to any property. And I was like, ooh,
Right.
Shit, we're getting into it. So like, and he's having this conversation and they're like getting drunk by like the fucking fire, and like the priest that fucking hates Linus, Father Greg, he like opens the door and like stares at them and then like walks out and leaves the door open. And Tom Wilkinson's like, what the fuck is that? And he shuts the door and he comes back, and then the priest like opens the door again and like, like looks at him and then like leaves the door open. And Tom Wilkinson's like, what the fuck is going on? And, and Linus Roache is like, he's like, he's chaperoning us. and Tom Wilkinson figures out that he thinks that they're like, you know, in a relationship or something. So he starts losing his fucking shit, like laughing hysterically, and then they get really drunk. And they start just being like, oh.
I will definitely put that clip in because it's hilarious.
It's so fucking funny, mostly because you hear them doing it. You see it from
you see the old priest asleep in bed, and then
it waking him up, and then you see them outside, like yelling into the wall so that they're waking him up. And fucking the way Linus Roache is like pulling his shirt above his fucking face, and he's just like losing his mind.
How was it for you?
But one of the things that like Tom Wilkinson's character is repeatedly like after Father Greg gets outed, he's like, I have to leave, I'm not welcome here. And he's like say mass with me. He's like, just say mass with me. And he's like I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that, like all this stuff. And right, when he's like, I can't do that, and he's like just do it, man. He's like, no, I literally can't because I took 24 like Percocets or whatever. And he's like, Rapido. But yeah, Tom Rapido, por favor. I'm just kidding. I don't need nothing. That is in the movie Made in Manhattan, starring Jennifer Lopez. Amy Sedaris is in it. And she is speaking Spanish to Jennifer Lopez problematically. And she says, Rapido, por favor. And it's very funny to me because it's supposed to be, and I always quote that. I always say, Rapido, por favor. I always get it. You turned your mic off.
And this is how I find out?
I'm like, I don't know why it sounds so weird. Anyway. So, Tom Wilkinson's character just keeps trying to push Father Greg to say mass. And he finally agrees to it after they get really drunk and pretend to have sex. And then it's this like, it's basically like the climax of the movie, and it's so like kind of painful to watch because like people storm out, they're pissed that he's back, and Tom Wilkinson is just like, if you don't think that if you have no ability to like forgive or to look past someone, if you can't handle this person being gay, if you can't love them even though they're gay, then leave. And like most everyone leaves. I
like in that the one Michael McDonald looking motherfucker leads a revolt or whatever, and he's yelling, and he ends up doing kind of a back and forth of Wilkinson while the other guy comes up and gets in Father Greg's face.
Yeah. And it's this thing where they are doing communion, and they show communion happening multiple times throughout the movie. I'm assuming to give you an idea of what it actually looks like.
Which
no
I
matter
appreciate,
what is going on, like what, so there's like both priests like basically stand there, and then two lines form, and they just like go from one to the other, and they give them the communion wafer, and I don't know what else happens. And no, everyone gets in line in Tom Wilkinson's line, and nobody gets in line for Father Greg. And he's just like sitting there, and he's just like absolutely broken. And Cathy Tyson, she doesn't take communion, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, And so she's never taken communion. She doesn't do that. And maybe it's something that you don't do if you haven't had confirmation.
I think
maybe,
that's right.
You know, and or something, or you don't always, you know, you don't have to always do it. And she and the girl, Lisa, I think that told him what was going on with her. Both of them aren't taking communion, and so he's just standing there. And no one's in his line, and no one's moving to his line, and everybody has chosen Tom Wilkinson's line. And he's just like absolutely broken and just like standing there, and his eyes are like welling up. And then Lisa and Cathy like stand up kind of at the same time. Like Lisa makes her way up, and he gives her communion, and then he says like, "Forgive me," or something like that. And then they both just start crying, and they just stand there. And like, what I kind of love about it is that like Cathy Tyson is still in line.
Oh, is she?
She's in his line.
Oh,
yeah. She's at the very back, but she's in his line, and she's just standing there while he, you know, and that's how the movie ends, with him just like bawling his eyes out, hugging this girl who was he
breaks down.
Yeah, and
once she takes the
body
of Christ.
Yeah. And it's just like, like no one, but it like, it's going on, and it like, the credits are rolling and they're still showing it. No one moves still. No one gets in his line after that. No one changes. Even after that, like nothing changes. And it's such a, like a very, like you said, it's like, there's not actually like a resolution that happens. Right. And it's kind of like, just painting a picture of like what I liked about it is like there's this picture of like the dynamics of how being queer and being religious are always at a head, and if you're actually like, I think what I appreciated about it is that Tom Wilkinson's character is not queer. He's a privileged white dude. I like the part where I forgot about this part, but I like the part where he like condemns basically the church for like taking everybody's, like for taking money and for like being super judgy and shit like that. At the same time, he gets picked because and then his car gets and then they take his car away. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And it's like the shittiest fucking car.
Yeah, the bishop. Yeah, I know. The bishop is such a perfect
bitch.
Villain.
Yeah, he's such a bitch. But he's like,
you want to know what you can do to help God? You can piss off out of this parish or whatever.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, that scene where he's bringing him flowers and he's like, "I brought you grapes," and he just throws it at him. Fucking Christ. Like,
hilarious.
There's so much of this, like, but like Tom Wilkinson's character is very much like, I am a privileged white dude who has a lot of stuff because of the church.
Right.
And so I'm taking that and I'm using that. And I'm like, oh, and then, but you expect it to sort of, a lot of times you expect it to be that the person that is queer is the one that's having to fight. But he's the one that's like constantly like, but the church says it's wrong to be gay, so I have to hate myself. And Tom Wilkinson's like, you fucking idiot piece of shit. That's stupid. You don't have to do that. That's not at all what any of it's, that's not right. That's not true. You're stupid, And he's just like so pissed at Father Greg constantly because he's just like, no, all these things are bad. And he's like, ugh, don't you know what we do? And like, it's cool because like Tom Wilkinson's character is like, he goes out and gets drunk with the people from the, parish. He's just like, he's like a fun loving priest that everybody enjoys, but he's the most forgiving and the most like righteous kind of out of all. Yeah,
early on when you see one of their early confrontations, Father Greg says, because they're like working poor people, you expect less of them. From them.
Right. He was like, you think it's offensive because I don't know. There was just a lot about like this movie was very
Father
layered.
Greg's first sermon is
basically chastising them.
He's like, today we villainize society
But
it's basically a personal responsibility
yeah.
sermon.
And he's like, bro, that's really offensive to working class people. He's like, oh, are you saying you expect less from working class people? He's like, I find that offensive. And Tom Wilkinson's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I like too when he he goes out drinking, and like this is when he finds out about like Tom Wilkinson's character and Cathy Tyson being on the hookups. But Tom Wilkinson goes out and he's like getting drunk and he's singing karaoke, and then the next morning he's making tea, and he's like walking into the room where Father Greg is, and he's like, he has two cups of tea, and Father Greg's like, thank you, and he's like, what? He's like, you didn't pay for any drinks last night, and then he walks upstairs with both cups.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Totally whiffed.
He's like, what the no. It's so...
And then when it's like the wake for the dude
my
who has a heart
God.
attack, and he's like, okay, if anybody needs to, I understand if,
He's like, I want to, they're like, sing. And he's like, I want to say something. And then he starts talking like church business, and they're all like, no.
basically shout him down.
Oh, man. That's good shit.
It's like, if anybody wants to take confession, I'll be here.
Yeah.
If you, because I don't, if you get, you may feel uncomfortable taking communion tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because of all the reverie.
It's very funny. What are you going to do?
I want to read the quote from Roger Ebert because it's although it's kind of like he didn't see the whole movie, maybe.
Oh.
He gave it 1 out of 4 stars, calling the screenplay, quote, shallow and exploitative.
Wow.
Which I don't know that I disagree, but he added, quote, the movie argues that the hidebound and outdated rules of the church are responsible for some people, priests, not having sex, although they should, while others, incestuous parents, can keep on having it, although they shouldn't. For this movie to be described as a moral statement about anything other than the filmmaker's prejudices is beyond belief.
Wow. Somebody's a Catholic. I wonder what fucking
Gene
Siskel
had to say about that.
He probably said something about McDonald's. Him getting 2 apple pies.
55 burgers, 55 hot dogs, 55 drinks. Roger says, hey,
God.
give me one of each.
So fucking, oh my God. How they...
I think I've linked to that multiple times at this point.
You might have even inserted a clip.
I hope so.
You should do it again.
If you haven't, look up them outtakes.
Is this a film that you would recommend?
I think it's a good film. I mean, it feels very dated.
It is a film, so you have that part right.
Thank you. I feel like it was shot on celluloid medium.
Yeah, probably 1994.
It's good. Yeah, I guess. I guess what's keeping me from an outright recommendation is it feels pretty dated in a way.
Oh, interesting.
But
see, I feel like things were going on in 1994, and then we progressed, and then I feel like we're getting right back to 1994. So I'm like, yeah, I'd recommend watching this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
To me, the issues aren't issues for me because I don't fuck with the church, so right. I don't care.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's for me. It's more like these are good things. So I'm not like, yes, I've always struggled with my religious beliefs, and this is this is true to my story. That's not really how I see it. It's more like this is a great example of like I feel like this is one of those historically I think this is a very interesting film because of
Agreed.
what the church didn't like what it had to say. But also like there's stuff on it like they're walking through town and IRA is spray painted on the side of the building and there's things like that,
the Troubles are still going on, I think.
Yes, correct. The Troubles were going on until a couple
99
years.
or something?
Oh, I thought it was.
Clinton era, I think, was when they officially ended. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of the Oslo Accords.
Yeah, that might be it. I thought the Troubles were going on for up until like a couple years ago, but maybe I'm wrong.
The Trubs.
Them Trubs. So I don't know. I also think that it's a different culture. Like
Right.
the like British
1998.
Okay, I was way off. 1998 and sorry, nope. What? The
Sorry.
UK? Nope, I did it to myself by not pausing. I'm like, I'll just keep talking while Q says a number. I can't do that. If someone's talking,
Hubris.
while I'm trying to, I can't. So
No,
one time,
no.
one time I had something in my hand and someone was talking to me and I just handed it to them. I was at work.
That's right.
I had keys in my hand and my manager was talking to me and I just handed her my keys and she took them and was talking to me and then she said, what are you doing? I don't want this. And I was like, I don't know why I did that. And she was like, what? It was so, but I would do that. People would be talking to me. I'd have something in my hand. I just handed it to them. I don't know why I do that, but it's a thing I do. I don't know. I don't like holding things at all. Like I don't like holding things. So if I'm holding something and in my mind I'm like, you should put that down, I'll just hand it. Sometimes I'll just hand it to someone and I don't. My desk was right next to me too. I could have just put it in the other hand and set it on my desk, but I was like, here, take this. You need this more than I do.
No, it's like it's also the first time you notice if anyone exposes that like if you gesture as though you're handing something to someone, they will take it without thinking about it. And if someone exposes that to you, you're like, you're a wizard. The first time, anyway.
I do like though when someone just doesn't. They're like, no, what are you doing? I don't want that. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Or like vice versa. Someone's trying to hand you something. You're like, what are
prefer
you
not
doing?
to.
What are you doing? I don't want that. And they're like, what? What? I didn't even know I was holding this, It's like, anyway. Yeah, I think, what was I saying? I was saying something about the year 1998. Oh,
94?
yeah. I was saying that, like, religion, while it is similar, like, in the UK and here.
Oh.
It's a completely different thing.
Very different.
Because here it's mainly rooted in colonialism. And not to say there it isn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is like a lot of the people are not like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like religion is like a staple in a different way than it is here.
Yeah, and there's because of things like the Troubles.
Right,
and,
exactly.
I get confused because the Catholic Church is actually not the main church.
Oh, it's not?
No, the Church of England is the main church.
Oh, right.
And that's why a lot of the things around Irish independence come down to Catholics versus Protestants.
Yeah, interesting. Right.
Because the Irish are Catholic.
That's why they call it.
That's very confusing to me.
Yeah, but
because I associate the Catholic Church with being the dominant colonial force.
Right, exactly. Right, and this is what I'm saying though. Like it's
right.
It's not. It's like a different sort of like. There's just like a different approach to it, and it's a very, So I find like things that are not set in the U.S. specifically that have to do with religion. I'm interested in them because
Yeah,
I'm like,
totally.
I don't know what this is like.
Yeah, right.
I am so fascinated by I'm very fascinated by the bells and whistles of religion, of all kinds of religion, like
Yeah. All the ritualistic
yeah.
stuff.
yeah, like the like Muslims, how they have like their like prayer like rugs and stuff, like they have like shit like that. I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is so fascinating. Like
Right.
certain times of the day, it's so interesting. And like the way that they, people like different
Bajoran
religions,
birth ceremonies.
exactly. No, yeah, like all different kinds of like things that are integral to how they
Yeah.
serve their religion or how they
Right.
practice their faith, and it's so different. Like that kind of shit is so fascinating. So like Catholicism has always been very fascinating to
Yeah.
me, something that I've always wanted to be like an outside observer of Catholicism in a way. Like I've always wanted to go to like a really, like I want to go to a Catholic church. I want to look around. I want to take it in. I love all the imagery. I love it so much. It's so weird. It's so fascinating. I love that
Yeah.
they're like, you know what? I mean, Christianity kind of does this, but it's much more after the fact than like during the fact. Like the cross is very big in all religions. Catholicism is like, we're just going to have a graphic depiction of someone's death
Right.
on the cross, and most other religions are like, let's talk about after that happened. Let's talk about, it's just a cross. We're not going to put Jesus on it, like Protestant is just a cross.
You're saying other religions. You mean other forms of Christianity?
That's what I mean.
Okay,
Yes.
just
like
checking.
Protestant and, well, I don't know. When I was saying that wrong, but like, I meant other denominations. That's what I meant. Other
Yes.
denominations. And so like, it's a very, they're very much like so graphic in how they
Yeah.
show things. And that's so fucking, I love it. I
And
fucking
it's like
love it.
I mean, regardless of what people believe,
Yeah.
This is the difference between Catholics and Protestants is
Yes.
that the Eucharist is literally
Yes.
the
Yes.
blood in the body,
Yes.
not
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. But I love all that shit. I'm very fascinated in it.
Right.
I'm very interested in it. So like,
I went to a Catholic service once,
I've never been. I've never
and it was
even-
it was like this, very suburban Catholic church.
Yeah, I'm more interested in like the old shit where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
an old ass church and you're like, is it gonna crumble around me when
Yeah.
like oh.
Oh man, I went into some cathedrals in Mexico that are stone and
Would love that. But see, okay, I would like
Just
I
one,
would
I
want to
guess.
go into like I would want to go into any sort of like religious place. Like I would want to go into like oh I don't remember. I know what it's called, but I don't remember Muslim, what is it? It's not a temple, is it? Is that
a mosque.
Mosque, thank you. Yes. See, I fucking knew it. I knew that I knew what it was, but I couldn't I want to look at, like all the stuff. I want to look at all of it. I want to
yeah.
go inside. I want to walk around. I want to, not like in the sense of like point and stare, but like I want to like take it all in, like all that shit is
Yeah,
so
if you've
fucking
been
fascinating
grown
to
up
me.
with it, if you've
Yeah.
never been exposed to it,
Like Judaism is super interesting to me, super fascinating to me. Not Zionism, fuck that. All that shit is like very fascinating to me, and how like the fucking satyrs, like all this shit is so interesting to me. I love it. It's so fascinating. I'm so interested in all of it. So, and that's something that's always been true. And I think something that I was always drawn to about like Catholicism is fucked up, obviously, because all religions, when they start to form a, all beliefs, when they start to form like a unified religion, can step into territory of extremism and blah 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 blah. So
tools of conquest and
yeah. So but something that's always been super fascinating to me about Catholicism in particular is how so specific and like intricate their belief system is, and like how you have a confessional and you know, like all this stuff that's like very strange. That fascinating
From the outside.
Yeah, that's so fucking fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, back when I was like, I don't feel like I'm a Christian, I was like shopping other religions, and I was like, maybe I'll become a Catholic, and then that upset everyone. I just wanted to be around it. I just wanted to be like, because I thought it was really interesting, but I didn't actually want to believe in it. I just thought that shit. And I had someone be like, well, if you do that, I won't be your friend anymore. And I was like, what? I'm like, it's the same thing. It's just, I just think it's cool that you get a rosary and you know, have, maybe I'll fuck a priest, you know. Been there, done that. It's over, you know.
Is it? As we watch this movie in the year 2024.
Anyway, all that to say, I think I would definitely recommend it because I do think it's sort of a, you know, I think any movies that we watch for Pride Month, good or bad, I probably would likely recommend all of them in some way, just because I do think that there's historical context to all of it. And I do think that there are things to gain from, even if your perspective is something, that's not poop. That's just yeah. That's
Velcro.
Velcro. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word Velcro. I was like, it's zipper. I'm not on
God's
drugs.
zipper.
What does it say?
Says,
it says, I'm not on drugs. So what was I?
Yeah, and
like, I think no matter what I think it's always interesting to look at different perspectives and to see how different people experience things, you know. I know that was to you because you turned away from the microphone, but now I'm invested. What is that movie called? What's it about? Who's in it?
Kyle MacLachlan is in it. It's about a gay man who's South Asian Canadian. I think he's Indian. Canadian, and he's gay, and he had Kyle MacLachlan plays basically his imaginary friend, but who's Cary Grant.
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Oh God,
that's hilarious.
I remember liking it.
That's wild.
Yeah. Fuck. Anyway.
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah. Something in Pink is, I think.
Touch of Pink?
Probably.
Spirit of Cary Grant, so yeah.
Yep.
Touch of Pink. That sounds really familiar. Did you say I'm going to pee?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've seen... Okay.
The scene in what is it? It's where Gene is reading Tina's list of something, and he's like, gay, mythical creature, gay.
Yeah, gay, mythical creature.
Always reminds me of a scene in that movie because the guy isn't out to his parents, I think, is the thing.
Yeah.
And then Kyle MacLachlan he's like going through his books or movies or whatever, and he's like, gay.
Yeah. So.
I'm curious about this director. I had not heard of her before. Antonia Bird.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Also.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. She did 2 other movies with Robert Carlyle. So.
My boo. I said this last night. I feel like as he's aged, Robert Carlyle looks more like he was just carved out of wood. Yeah, I said this before. I said he's like Tom York if both sides of his face, matched. I'm gonna do that. Like
Geppetto's.
He
sequel.
played. Do you remember you probably don't know the show Once Upon a Time. It was like fairy tale, like all. Yeah. It was like this fairy tale show that was like. Like.
I mean, it sounds familiar.
He played Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, nice.
Oh man. He's why I watch it. But I couldn't. The show was like not interesting. The show was like so difficult for me to care about. But I liked Robert Carla. He just wasn't in it enough. I liked Stargate Universe.
I liked him in Stargate Universe.
Yeah. I like him. I liked him in 28 Weeks Later.
I wonder what I think of Universe now.
Yeah, I probably hate it. I'm so curious about 28 Years Later, though.
No, is that real?
Yes, 28 Years Later.
Are they going to make it on the 28th anniversary of?
I don't know, because it's only been 23 years, but yeah.
Is it out?
No.
Oh.
But they're making it.
Oh.
I don't know when it's coming out, but yeah. I'm interested to see it.
Apparently, I want to talk shit on Alex Garland's Civil War.
Hell yeah. Wait, did that actually come out? Oh, yeah.
That's out.
Yeah,
now.
that's right. Sorry. I was thinking about the other one where the people that made that one show, Game of Thrones, we're going to make one that's like, what if the Civil War never happened? Or
What if the
something
South
like
won? Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah. Sounds so good.
I saw a thing that referenced that it's like poster art was clearly AI generated.
Yes, it's AI generated, yeah. And it's bad. It's just not good. Like, the thing is, people,
Budget $50 million estimated, opening weekend 25. So
Alex Garland, he did.
all your faves, Ex Machina.
I like Ex Machina.
He directed Annihilation.
Annihilation, yeah.
Devs.
Okay, that's what I was like. Did he? Yeah, I fucking
Men.
I haven't watched Men because I can't bring myself to do it. I cannot bring myself to
I'm
watch
a little
Men.
curious. I saw.
Yeah, I am, but I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna hate this so much. Like, I'm just gonna have to like get stoned or something and watch it. Like, I'm not gonna be able to just like.
I watched part of a video breaking down the shots
Yeah.
that made it seem really interesting.
Okay.
But I stopped watching it because spoilers, I think.
Oh,
But,
okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I never know.
Yeah, but Eric Garland. Woo.
Alex Garland?
Yeah, what'd I say? Adam?
Eric?
Eric. Who's that?
Because you
Supreme
said Eric Andre. I think you were talking about Eric Andre.
No, isn't Eric Garland like a Supreme Court guy?
Is he?
Garland. Who's the Garland? There's somebody on the Supreme Court, Garland, who's...
I don't know. Girl, like, I know anybody.
I know.
Like, and a name. Girl's trying to get me to say I know a name.
Oh, it's Merrick, I think. Garland. That's what I did. Okay, anyway. What's up with Merrick's? My name's Keith, and I like juxtapositions.